Hello, ladies and gentlemen. Good evening. Good evening, everybody. I am Elena Pasoli, member of the IBBY Italia Executive Committee, former member of the IBBY Executive Committee, and let me say that this is big emotion for me. To be here on this stage to welcome you to the awarding ceremony of the Hans Christian Andersen Award. Why is it so emotional? Because, you know, let me wear the jacket of director of the Bologna Children's Book Fair, which I try not to do all these days. There's a very, very special bond between Bologna and IBBY, as we wrote on the main sign at the door of our exhibitions, the exhibition we organized here for you. And it's a very strong bond because the announcement, Bologna has been the venue of the announcement of the winners of the award for so long. So now, for me to be here to introduce the ceremony is something that I really can't believe. Here in my country, in Italy, in Trieste, in this amazing Congress, I wish to thank you on behalf of IBBY Italia, all of you, for coming so in such a big number. And what can I add? We will have first the awarding ceremonies, and then we will have our traditional party. So it's nice to think that we have a lot of time to spend together tonight. And it is my great pleasure also to be here to introduce the president of the Hans Christian Andersen Award jury, Liz Page. I know that you know her very well, all of you, but I have to do my job, so I have to introduce her properly. I wish just to start with a big thank you to Liz, because yes, the relationship between IBBY and Bologna has been always strong, but even stronger when she became the director of IBBY. So many, many thank you. Now, off the jacket of Bologna and IBBY jacket. So, Liz Page grew up and lived in England until 1985, when she and her family moved to Basel. She soon became involved with IBBY, the Intercultural Children's Library in Basel, of which she was a founding member. Later, she was elected president of the Intercultural Children's Libraries Association of Switzerland. She joined IBBY in 1997 and served as IBBY Executive Director from 2009 until 2022. She was then appointed President of the 2024 Hans Christian Andersen Awards jury. Please welcome Liz Page with a huge round of applause.
Gosh, what can I say? Thank you, Eleanor, for all your kind words and a very kind introduction. It's a pleasure to be here, I must say. So I'm going to stick to my script because I worked hard on it. And I want to welcome you to this special ceremony to celebrate the Hans Christian Andersen Award, which is the highest international distinction given to authors and illustrators of children's books. The awards are given every other year by IBBY to recognize an author and an illustrator whose works have made an important and lasting contribution to children's literature. The Andersen Award is sponsored by NAMI Ireland Arts and Education, Inc., based in Seoul. IBBY expresses its deepest gratitude to NAMI for its generous support of this most prestigious international award. I would like to now ask Mrs. Lee to say a few words about the work and activity of NAMI Ireland and their support of IBBY Andersen Awards. Mrs. Lee. Thank you. So, are you going to show a film as well? Are you going to show a film?
Later.
Later?
I have to say something.
Just say a few words.
Well, I have to bring my glasses and...
You don't need your glasses, just say it.
No. I have prepared the... You did not finish that? No, and I have to show you. I thought that...
Okay, okay. Do you want to do it at the end? I'm sorry.
I didn't know the procedure.
Nor did I. I used the same procedure. There we are.
Yeah, I know.
There we are. Little technical hitch here.
Sorry.
Any minute. You okay?
Yes. I'm so sorry that I didn't understand the procedures. Good evening, everybody. Tonight, I'm honored to be with all of you, members of IBBY from around the world, honored guests, as well as the authors and illustrators who guide us into the world of fairy tales with wonderful writings and illustrations. Sorry. I'd like to extend my heartfelt congratulations to Heinz Janisch and Sydney Smith, both of whom were awarded the Hans Christian Andersen Award. When I was young, I grew up reading books without illustration. At that time, picture books were not common, so I didn't have the chance to enjoy the diverse range of illustrated books that are available today. Growing up reading such books, I had a few dreams as a child. First, to become an elementary school teacher. Second, to create interesting children's books. The reason I wanted to become a teacher was that I wanted to be someone who selects and reads wonderful books to children. As for my second dream, perhaps it stemmed from the fact that there wasn't much to read at that time. Thankfully, nowadays, children can easily find and read books illustrated with beautiful pictures and colors that inspire their dreams. Children can also learn about the sad or dark aspects of the world through books. In reality, too many children are suffering from war, famine, disease, and social injustice. As a shared dream, wouldn't it be wonderful if we could give children the strength to overcome difficulties and move bravely into the future with dreams and hopes in their hearts? Although I did not achieve all the dreams I had as a child, having those dreams in my heart has contributed to my desire to love and protect children and to guide them toward a future filled with hope. It was my great pleasure to have the chance to share some of my childhood dreams with you like this. Thank you very much. You are helping children around the world to dream of anything they desire and giving them the strength to achieve those dreams. Through countless stories and the enchanting images created by beautiful colors and illustrations. The children growing up with these books will contribute to making this world a more peaceful and beautiful place. I hope that a brighter future will unfold for them. Once again, I'd like to congratulate the two award recipients and give my special thanks to IBBY Italia for their hard work in creating this wonderful event tonight. I also hope that the idea of world unity through children's books, advocated by Jella Lepman, will come true soon. Thank you very much.
Mrs. Lee? Thank you, Mrs. Lee. And thank you again to Nami Island. It's really been an extraordinary privilege for me to lead the 2024 Hans Christian Andersen jury process. As many of you know, this task was unexpected. Our colleague and good friend, Anastasia Okipova, was elected to this position of the jury president at the by general election in 2022. But because of the Russian invasion of Ukraine, many people, IBBY members included, equated Anastasia with the activities of the Russian government. She was mercilessly trolled and was forced to resign. Another consequence of these attacks was that the long-time patron of the Andersen Awards, Her Majesty Queen Margrethe II of Denmark, withdrew her patronage in January 23, and we deeply regret this decision. It was an honor to chair this remarkable group of jurors. They come from all over the world with diverse professional and cultural backgrounds. Yet the meetings and discussions were extremely harmonious, and the process of selection was remarkably consensual. I would like now to thank the jurors, some of whom are with us here in Trieste. Please stand up and wave when I call out your names. So, Evelyn Arizipi from Mexico and the UK. Brenda Dales from the USA. Sabina Fuchs from Austria. Diana Laura Kovac from Argentina. Shireen Krida from Lebanon. And then Bettina Kummerling-Meyerbar from Germany, Jana Personen from Finland, Tan Fung-She from China, Paula Uchaka from Slovenia is here. And Morgana Vasta from France. The executive director, Carolina Ballester, was the jury secretary and looked after all the logistics for the meetings as well as the award as a whole. Thank you to you all. In the months leading up to the in-person meeting, the criteria was discussed via our online blog platform, especially created for the jury. And then the jury finally met in Basel, Switzerland in January this year. And being wonderfully warm in Trieste, it's hard to imagine just how cold it was in Basel for that meeting. It was freezing. We initially spent some time discussing the criteria and refining them to reflect what the jury was looking for in this round of the award. Universality was an important theme, and how the candidates addressed this issue. Further themes included the candidates' aesthetic and literary qualities, as well as their freshness and innovation. We looked at their ability to see the child's point of view and to stretch their curiosity, as well as the continuing relevance of the works to children and young people. As with every Andersen Award, the jury's assessments were based on each nominee's entire body of work. From the 59 nominees submitted by 33 IBBY sections, the shortlist of 12 nominees was announced immediately after the January meeting. The authors' list comprised of Marina Colzanti from Brazil, Heinz Janisch from Austria, Lee Gum-yi from South Korea, Bart Moyart from Belgium, Timo Pavala from Finland, and Edward van der Vendel from the Netherlands. And the illustrators' list comprised, yes, please. And the illustrators' list comprised of Iwona Chmielewska from Poland, Nelson Cruz from Brazil, Zhao Gai from China, Elena Odrizola from Spain, Sydney Smith from Canada, and Paloma Valdeviva from Chile. I think they all deserve. We are very happy that several of the shortlisted nominees and the two winners are with us today. The shortlisted nominees that are here are the illustrators Chai Gao from China. Please come to the stage. When I call your names, please come to the stage. Gusti from Argentina. Are you here? Damian Stepovanic from Slovenia. Is he not here? And the author is Robert Piumi from Italy. I have a feeling he's not with us tonight. Is that right? Lee Guom-yi from South Korea. Are you here? Peter Svetina from Slovenia. And Samar Baraj from the Lebanon. Ah, good. So, 4. So, we have diplomas, which I'd like to present. So, thank you. The others aren't here, actually. Is he here? No? The jury also identified 20 titles that can help build bridges of understanding, which they felt were important enough to merit translation everywhere so that children around the world could read them, thus expanding their access to some of the very best books. Please find time to look at the books the jury recommends, as well as all the wonderful books submitted by the IBBY sections. You'll find them over there in the corner, and we recommend all the shortlisted books and also, naturally, the winners' books. From this outstanding array of shortlisted authors, the jury selected Heinz Janisch from Austria as the recipient of the 2024 Hans Christian Andersen Award for Writing. It is exactly 40 years since fellow Austrian Christina Nusslinger won the same award. I like round numbers. Heinz Janisch is a master at writing for children, young children. He opens spaces to stretch their imagination and invites illustrators to do the same. To say that less is more is an understatement for Heinz. He maintains that nothing is too small for literature. He encourages readers to think in a philosophical way, to pause and ponder on every page. Very often, he introduces absurd scenarios as well, such as a bear and a giant trying to cross a narrow bridge at the same time from opposite ends. You have to read the book. You can read and reread Heinz's work and always find new and deeper meanings in them. Not only is he a profound writer, Heinz has also made an enormous contribution to reading promotion through literary and creative writing workshops for children and adults. His writing is universal and totally uplifting. So congratulations, Heinz Janisch. So please come forward to receive your award from myself and IBBY President Sylvia Vardell. So now I'd like to invite Hans Janisch to talk to you.
Dear Liz, dear new friend Sydney, ladies and gentlemen, maybe you wonder if this the same guy it is. So maybe I was a little bit younger, but it's still me. I'm afraid you can hear my heartbeat throughout this microphone. I feel deeply honored to be standing before you, an illustrious assembly of aficionados of children's books, as the winner of the Hans Christian Andersen Award 2024. In 2000, I was allowed to take part in the 27th Congress of the International Board on Books for Young People in Cartagena in Colombia. My Sonntagsriese had been on the IBBY honor list. In the acceptance speech I delivered on behalf of the nominees, I recounted an old fairy tale from Ethiopia. This was to morph into The Fire, which was illustrated by Fabrizio van den Broek and published by Groundwood Books in Toronto. I hope to see it now. This is the book. Let me briefly recapitulate the story. I have a feeling It's got a lot to do with what moves all of us who work in the field of children's literature, whether as authors, illustrators, translators, or in the media. So, what is the fire all about? There was this man who had worked hard for his master for a long time. He had served him for many years. One day, he walked up to his master and asked him, "What can I do to get free at last?" His master sneered, "You want to be free? I'll tell you what you can do. See that mountain peak over there? If you manage to survive for an entire night on that peak, naked, no clothes, mind you, you will be free the very next day." The man takes leave from his best friend, fully aware that this is forever. How is he supposed to survive that night? Night falls, and the man trudges up the mountain with a heavy heart, higher and higher, until he reaches the peak, which is covered in ice and snow. It is freezing. His master has sent along 2 men to make sure there is no foul play and that the man does not seek shelter anywhere. Naked and utterly defenseless, the man stands on the peak. The freezing cold gets to him. Then all of a sudden, the man sees a fire that is being lit on the neighboring peak. His friend has gone up with a packful full of logs of wood and has lit a fire for him, a fire at night. The man looks at the fire which has been lit for him, and the fire warms him. His friend makes sure the fire doesn't go out, and this is how the man stays alive, in spite of the snow and the ice, with his eyes on the fire that had been lit for him and that light up the darkness. As the morning dawns, the man gets down from the mountain. He is a free man. He celebrates his newly found freedom with his best friend. I find this tale moving. Is it not our mission to light a fire for all who need it in the darkness and in the cold? Just as this old story from Ethiopia warms me, all of us may warm others with our books, with words and pictures, and we can give them light, comfort, and confidence. We know how powerful stories and pictures are. We are this friend who has climbed up the mountain, has lit a fire, who makes sure it doesn't go out. We make this fire that lights up the night, a fire that radiates warmth. The Austrian actor Walter Schmiedinger once told me an unforgettable story from his childhood. After his father had returned from World War II, a physical and mental wreck, the elder Schmiedinger was hardly able to provide for his family. One day, he decided to give his wife and his son a present. He bought wallpaper with a silky shine and used it to decorate the walls of a small flat. When the sunlight hits the walls, the entire room was filled with a shimmer of light, a shimmer that transformed everything and made everything seem charged with meaning. To give others the present of a silky shine can make a world of difference. It does not have to be a great log fire every time. A silky shine, a mysterious shimmer, a realization that life with all its difficulties is always a great and wonderful gift is sufficient. Every poem, every story, every picture has the potential to be such a shimmer, to radiate such a silky shine, however deep the darkness may be in which it is embedded. The marvelous embedded in darkness is a subject I have tried to address in Hans Christian Andersen, Die Reise seines Lebens. Illustrated by the Slovene artist Maja Kastelic, the book was published by the Nord-Süd Verlag in Zurich. The most wonderful fairy story is life itself, Hans Christian Andersen said. In our book, which Maja Kastelic has realized with elements of the graphic novel, a girl and a woman mount a carriage in which a man in a hat and a black suit is already seated. The journey at first proceeds in silence, and the girl in her blue rustling dress asks a point-blank question of the sort only children are capable of. "Are you old?" she asks the man in the black suit. The man, Hans Christian Andersen, gives an answer that seems to me be valid for all of us whose lives center on children and on children's literature. He said, "So you want to know whether I'm old? Well, I am as young as the boy I was once upon a time, who is still alive within me. And I'm so old as the man who is sitting in front of you." I think all of us who are active in the domain of children's literature are both young and old. Elsa, the girl in the carriage, has come with a book in her hand, which she proudly shows to the man. She asks him whether he is too into reading. "He loves books," answers the man, "to the extent that he's a writer himself." When Elsa learns that he especially loves writing fairy stories, she asks the man to tell her one. After hardly a moment's thought, Hans Christian Andersen says, "If it's all right with you, I tell you the fairy story of my life. I will tell you a story about a boy who learned to fly." The first pages of our book are illustrated in color. As you turn the pages, the color suddenly disappears from the pictures. What is going on? Hans Christian Andersen, born on the 2nd of April 1805, grew up on the Danish island of Fyn, and his was a difficult childhood. His father was a cobbler working for a pittance. His mother contributed to the household by working as a washerwoman. The family found it difficult to make ends meet. Deprivation was the order of the day, also for little Hans. Life felt glum and dark. Color seems, whenever Father reads about from a collection of fairy stories, the recently published Folk and Fairy Tales by Jakob and Wilhelm Grimm. Hans's father either recites fairy tales or stage stories of his own devising. With puppets he has made himself, and suddenly a blaze of color illuminates life. All of a sudden there is fire and a silky shine. Suddenly everything appears to be within the boy's reach. The book of fairy tales has taught him how to fly. Little wonder that he will later write The Flying Trunk, Der fliegende Koffer, The fliegende Kuffert, which has a boy sitting down on a trunk and taking off. But despite all this, life holds little light for Hans Christian Andersen. After his father's untimely death, his mother can scarcely manage to provide for herself and her son. When he is 14, Hans, with only a handful of coins to his name, climbs onto a coach that is taking him to Copenhagen, the big city where he tries his luck. And we are back with light and shade, darkness and color. Having seen Copenhagen as a paragon of beauty before his mind's eyes, Hans found it drab and depressing for a boy newly arrived from the country who had the ambition to become a singer and an actor. As yet he was only looked down upon by everyone. As luck would have it, however, the young man found someone, the director of the Royal Theatre in Copenhagen, who was prepared to give him a break. He trained as an actor, was soon given small parts on the theatre. Color, however, only truly returned to his life when he became a successful author of fairy tales himself, illustrating them with silhouettes. From now on, light remained a constant in his life, and colors on the pages of the book are here to stay. Hans tells little Else about the fairy tales he has written, and all of them have a lot to do with himself. He is the boy who becomes airborne atop the flying trunk. Hans Christian Andersen spent a great part of his life traveling. He is the princess on the P, given how sensitive he is in many respects. He feels a deep kinship with the ugly duckling, which is belittled and despised by others to begin with, finally turns into a majestic swan. At the end of the book, Else and Hans demonstrate their belief in the efficacy of fairy tales and of indulging in wishful thinking. They both close their eyes and the carriage takes off en route to the desired destination. One of Hans Christian Andersen's contemporaries who lived in the Austrian province Vorarlberg rather than in Denmark was Franz Michael Felder. Born in 1839, this writer, peasant and social revolutionary, only lived to the age of 29. He only published a handful of books, such as his autobiography, Aus meinem Leben. Literature Nobel Prize winner Peter Handke loves the book of Franz Michael Felder. In my book, Ich war ein unruhiger Kopf aus dem Leben des Franz Michael Felder, I was even restless from the life of Franz Michael Felder, illustrated by the Vorarlberg artist Sophia Weinmann and published by Nord-Süd Verlag Zurich, I tried to get a handle on the life and work of this extraordinary man. Here, too, darkness and light have an important role to play, as Sophia Weinmann loses no time showing on the cover. Her ink drawing shows Felder in a dark suit, seated on a chair, immersed in a book. Colorful books stack up on the floor. Color also belongs to two butterflies swinging it into the picture, which you cannot overlook, even if you try. A farmer needs to work hard like a horse and has no time for musing about butterflies. This dictum by Felder's stern father calls forth in the book many-colored, beautiful butterflies, fluttering from page to page and present throughout, perched on Felder's shoulder or on his head, as incarnations of his fragile soul weft through the book. Fragile and vulnerable are qualities that also describe the red poppy flowers on the cover. They are blooming for an intense, brief period in brilliant shades of red, and they fade much too soon and are carried off by the wind. Felder's life too broke into bloom for a short, intense period of time and has left traces to this day. It goes without saying that I subjected Felder's autobiography to a close reading. In countless sessions, I copied scores of passages by hand and read them aloud to myself, seeking to capture a tone that would do justice to Felder. I have the author leap from his own book and recount his life from a first-person singular perspective. This is a presumption and a literary challenge at once and the same time. Of course, you can leap from a book. After all, you were entrapped in it somehow when the book was first written. This is how our book begins, and from the very beginning, they are an integral part of it, the books and the butterflies. Felder lived in the Bregenzer Wald, far from Bregenz, the metropolis. He loved to perch on trees and to dream of distant places, rather like young Hans Christian Andersen on the Danish island. And as was the case with young Hans, it was only through books that colors and diversity entered Felder's life. An elderly neighbor, Felder calls him the Lord of Letters, has many books. He tells the young Franz Michael fairy stories, and again, they do not fail to light up a life. I always found a role for Franz Michael in these stories, and hey presto, the world was a fairy story for me. In a fairy story, anything is possible. Any shepherd may become a king, and anyone who keeps their eyes open during their walkabouts may find a treasure here and there. Life on a farm requires every hand for the hard work in the stables and the fields. Young Franz Michel does not absent himself, yet he reads any books that come his way, for example, those supplied by the village priest. Regardless of the ambivalence with which Felder's father sees all this, there is this incident which will prove unforgettable for Franz Michael. When the annual calendar with his illustrations and stories were delivered to our home, I was allowed to read from it to my father. In the evening, we assembled around the calendar like around a fireplace. We sat in the kitchen and I read out aloud. My tired father listened and was proud of me. Once he even kissed me on the forehead. This had never happened before, out of sheer joy that I was such on good terms with printed letters. Felder loves reading and treats himself to large doses of it. Little wonder, therefore, that the brightest page in our book is all about books, an entire shield filled with books. Franz Michel has heard of a man in Innsbruck who is rumored to live in a room full of books. This fabled creature is called librarian. When he's asked at school, what do you want to become later in life? He answers, much to the bafflement of his fellow students, I want to become a librarian. War breaks out, Felder loses his father. Together with his mother, he must now take charge of the farm, but no matter how hard he's made to work, he always managed to find time for his books, even in the cowshed. He always has paper and a pen at hand. He will write books that are published in faraway places such as Leipzig. He will immerse himself in social work, in his struggle with the cheese barons who make profits by exploiting the farmers. He will found a political party to fight poverty and social injustice. He will marry his sweetheart, Nanny, and he will father 5 children, an intense, turbulent life. After his wife's untimely death, Franz Michael Felder wrote his autobiography Aus meinem Leben. Today, the Franz Michael Felder Museum in Schopenhau in Vorarlberg is testament to the right and social revolutionary. There is Felder Archive and a committed Felder Circle. His books have been reissued for a great number of times. Franz Michael Felder is well known in Vorarlberg and in Austria. It is a shame that he's less well known outside of Austria. Maybe our book can make a difference. As was the case with Hans Christian Andersen, it was the world of books that enlarged his horizon, that made him lift his gaze, and that made him inquisitive about his world and the possibilities it had on offer. At the end of I was ever restless, when the time has come for Franz Michael to die, he says, there is no point in becoming grumpy now. This is what I wanted to say. You may be born into a narrow valley and still have wide-ranging thoughts. You may work hard and still have eyes for butterflies. You may remain entirely one with yourself and still be there when others need you. You may find happiness with people as well as with books. Both are precious. Now I have exhausted myself talking, but I still got some words of advice. Climb every tree that exults in its tallness. Open every door that makes you curious. Raise your head sometimes and check whether there is someone in need. And above all, don't let anyone look down on you. Absolutely no one. Don't let anyone look down on you. Absolutely no one. I believe this is something all of us who have a stake in literature and in art for children should take to heart. You've heard me talk about fire, about shimmer, about a silky shine. Let's make our books this fire, this shimmer, this silky shine for all those in need of warmth, encouragement, and confidence. I would like to express my heartfelt gratitude to those in charge at IBBY for the award of this wonderful prize and for the important work IBBY is committed to do all over the world. I would like to thank Carolina Ballester, in particular for expertly taking charge of the organization and for the friendly reception we have been given. I would like to thank the jury for the appreciation they have expressed for my work by awarding me this prize. It feels good to be seen. I would like to express my gratitude to all illustrators who have contributed their great pictorial words to my books. I would like to thank my publishers for their courage to leave the beaten track. I would also like to extend my thanks to my translators who build bridges all over the world, and to all those who further the cause of literature. And not at least, a big thank you to my family. I know I'm in truth a loner with a family. That both sides may coexist so seamlessly, time to write and wonderful togetherness, is something I'm profoundly grateful for. There are lines that have kept me company for many years that I would like to share with you as I come to the end of what I have to say. A poem by the Welsh poet Dylan Thomas has this incredible sentence: "The ball I threw while playing in the park has not yet reached the ground. The ball is still in the air, and the wonderment goes on for all of us." Thanks for your attention.
Thank you, Heinz Janisch, for that very moving talk. The balls are still up in the air, so we're very grateful to be reminded of that. Now let me introduce you the recipient of the 2024 Hans Christian Andersen Award for Illustration, Sydney Smith. Sydney is the first winner to ever come from Canada, which is wonderful. As with Heinz Janisch, Sydney uses space on a page to give multiple perspectives that allow the reader a way of entering the story. The child and the father walking around the city shows us the father in his world and the world that the child sees it. We see both perspectives, which only converge when they reach their final destination. Sydney strips away the superfluous to express emotions through his use of colour and drama. He uses panels, whether they are an overview or a close-up, and this adds to his sense of drama as he explores universal feelings we all have. He is a masterful storyteller whose illustrations take roots in our heart. Sydney has said that listening is how he approaches story, whether he's illustrating his own text or those of others. He seems to listen to the very rhythm of life. The jury noted that his work is like a visual narrative or a short musical memory. Congratulations, Sydney Smith. Please come up and receive your award from myself and Sylvia. So now we invite Sydney Smith to say a few words. Of course you can.
Really,
Of course you
really
can.
thirsty.
There you go.
Okay. Thank you very much. Before I even start to read what I prepared, I just think back to when I was younger. I moved around a lot, and it meant that often I didn't have many friends, and that could be why I was so drawn to making art, because it was an escape, it was a safety, it was a safe place for me to go and to transcend where I was. But it meant that I've never taken friendship for granted. And being here tonight and receiving this award, I'm so proud of this, but I'm even more proud to be here with you, with my friends, my colleagues. It means so much to me. Thank you for being here and celebrating with us. Okay. Okay. Thank you for having me here in Trieste for the IBBY Congress. I'm honored to receive the award. That's an understatement of the year, but thank you to the sponsor, Nami Island. Thank you to the IBBY jury and the president of the IBBY jury, Liz Page, president of IBBY, Sylvia Vardell, and Carolina Ballister. Wow. Before I sat down to, so that's me. And I should clarify, I don't mean that was me, that is me. Very truly, honestly, it's who is standing up here in front of you. Sorry, I always cry when I get up in front of a lot of people. I was given the advice before I started to write this speech to not be solemn, but I'm sorry, have you seen my books? They're pretty serious and they're full of sincerity. I don't know if you would go so far as to say solemn, but I believe that maybe I'm standing here because I'm not afraid to get serious and to be sincere. But that's always been my way from childhood. Here's an example of early works of mine. As a young child, I dabbled in melancholy as well as joy, and I always was drawn to complicated emotions, as you can see here, and I think you'd agree that's complicated. A smile, a tear, a broken heart. I've just been doing the same thing my entire life. Well, here I am at what may be considered the peak, a peak of my career, maybe the peak of my career, and I'm happy to be here. It's a lofty peak from which I can look back across the vista and see the path that got me here. My path has not been direct, and there were swamps and jungles, but I've been extremely, extremely lucky. I've been shown the way, I've been given directions by many people, friends and family, teachers and mentors. There are too many to name in the time that I have, but there are a few that deserve a special mention. My family, my mother and father. My, My mentors and editors, Sheila Berry from Groundwood, and my good friend Neil Porter. And very, very most importantly, the love of my wife. The love of my life. My wife. Who has supported and stood by me in my highs and lows, which there are many, and who has been my friend and companion, encouraging me all the way up here to this peak that I find myself standing on. From up here, I can see where I decided to head down the path of picture books. At the time, it was not a popular choice. I was at an art college where there was no illustration department, and most students were engaged heavily in conceptual art and post-modern art making. But since I was already making art that used narrative themes of childhood, it was not much of a reach to imagine myself a picture book illustrator. It may have even been apparent to everyone but me, including that one instructor who respected the art of picture books and encouraged me to follow my heart. Now, I was not a good student. I have a hard time following direction. I need to discover the basics on my own, through experience. That's the only way I can learn. But the excitement surrounding these basic discoveries and fascinations are what propel me from one picture book to another. In one project, I discover a property of picture book storytelling or a particular power inherent in the image-text dynamic. And in the next project, I attempt to implement what I've found. In this way, the books are all connected, and it's just one long conversation. And this conversation started with a girl in a red coat. Not that one, that one. When I look back over that path that I've taken, this journey that I'm on, I can see where I was when I received the email. Do you remember? We were standing outside the cafe I was working at, where we were making coffees for people. And we got the email from Sheila Berry at Groundwood, asking me to illustrate a wordless book about a girl walking through the city picking flowers. In fact, there's a good chance I'm here today, in part because of the distance that book traveled, introducing me to 16 regions and countries and multiple languages, and establishing relationships with publishers around the world that continue to this day. This book also changed the way I worked. As the illustrator of a wordless picture book, I was front and center. The story was written by John Arno Lawson, a poet, one who identifies through his words. But in his and Sheila's insightful wisdom, the words were removed. They could see the story was stronger in silence. The reader could extract more if they witnessed the gentle, mindful activities of the character, picking flowers in the city, giving them out, rather than if they were told how to feel by text. The power was in the silence. The power was in the image. This way, the reader was an observing bystander, and the character had a certain privacy with a distance that preserved the sanctity of her actions, as if in this silence, the story was happening whether you were reading the book or not. It gives the character's emotions more validity and sincerity. It makes them real. It was then that I started becoming fascinated with the components of picture books that work together or against each other to create new meaning. In Town is by the Sea, beautifully written by Joanne Schwartz. It occurred to me that the illustrator of a picture book has ultimate control over the story. That's right. I'll let that sink in. Ultimate control. I'll say that as an illustrator. You can talk to me later if you want. See me outside. If the text, okay, I'll explain it a little bit. I'm sorry for being so esoteric, but this is really what, fascinates me about this craft. If the text and the image mirror each other, that's rule number one in making picture books. Don't be redundant. Don't mirror. And if that happens, there's little work for the reader to do. Reading remains a relatively passive activity. But when the text and image don't align, what some may call counterpoint, if the reader receives conflicting information, who do they look for the ultimate truth? The text or the image? The answer? The image, that's right. Ultimate power. The reader believes what they see in the illustration before they believe what they are told. The text is suddenly received as unreliable, and that invites a closer look at the narrator, in this case, the character of the boy. In Town is by the Sea, the reader follows the boy and the father throughout the day. The boy is above ground, the father is in the mine, underground. The father is seen to be in an accident. There we go. But the text, the voice of the boy, does not acknowledge the potential disaster. This leads to interesting questions. Why would he not describe what we see? Does the reader know more than the character? Does he choose not to acknowledge the possibility that his father could be seriously hurt or even dead? This invitation to look closer allows the reader to become an active part of the storytelling. Suddenly the reader feels challenged. Suddenly they feel respected. When the reader is challenged, it's always met and often surpassed. If you open the door to interpretation, the reader will look closer than you can even imagine. Now this, for me, is where it gets really exciting. Much of this is about anticipating the emotional reaction of the reader. It's a skill that every author and illustrator should have, and it could be the most valuable tool in your tool chest. How will they react to the information they are given? When they discover that the character is withholding their true emotions or details, or if the story is not what they thought it was, how will they feel? In Small in the City, I posed these questions and put these new thoughts and theories to test. I would write and illustrate my first book set in my own neighborhood in Toronto. My ultimate goal was to tell a story that could not be told just through text or just through the image. It required a considered mix of those active ingredients. Now, looking back over the vista, I can see that exact moment when everything came together. I was on a drive, a 2-hour drive down the highway, listening to music and mishearing lyrics, and I'd been sitting with this book for about a year. I didn't know what to do. I had a book about a kid in a snowstorm in the city. But recently I had talked to Neil Porter. First time we actually met, we sat down and I told him, I've got this kind of vague idea for a story, but it's missing something. In his wisdom, he said, what about a dog? And I said, oh, come on. Is he serious? A dog? But then I thought about it for a little bit longer, and then I said, well, what about a cat? And then it all came together. At the heart of the story is a twist and a reveal. a twist that changed the way the reader understood the previously read text. The character, at first, is assumed to be speaking directly to the reader. When the character says, "The city is so busy, but it can be hard to know what to do sometimes, but I can give you some advice." It's about that simple word, "you." The reader immediately assumes it refers to them and relaxes into the assumption that they are being led through the city in a picture book that probably feels predictable and familiar. But as the story continues, there's a moment where the advice given by the character becomes pointed and aimed at someone in particular. Not the reader, but instead to an unseen character. Now the word "you" refers to a cat, not the reader. They're no longer being addressed by the narrator. They're no longer known by the character, as if the fourth wall had been there the whole time. The dynamic changes as they realize they were never invited in, but are only there to observe, just like in Sidewalk Flowers, and they are suddenly observing a vulnerable and emotionally complicated person, saying one thing, meaning something different. Someone who feels alone in their grief, lost. I can't remember where, but there's a translation for this book. It's not called Small in the City, it's called Lost in the City. And at first I thought, oh, why would they do that? But I really love that. So then comes along a new challenge. With I Talk Like a River, beautifully written by Jordan Scott, we have a book about a boy who struggles with accepting his stutter. He's at odds with himself. I knew I could not give the reader the chance to distance themselves from the character, because they would. If they observed from a distance, they would say, "Oh, that's too bad, but I don't have a stutter. I'm not like him." I needed to put the reader in the mind of the boy. Look in the eyes of the boy. Look through the eyes of the boy. And feel through the messy fluidity of paint that the anxiety the boy feels may look different on the outside, but is familiar on the inside. Because we all have that same anxiety. We've all felt it before. We are so much more similar than we think. And of course, in this book, there's a moment of catharsis, seen in the mind of the character as a gatefold. So imagine this opening wide. In my most recent book, I have chosen to speak about memory. The beauty of shared memories between mother and child. It explores painful memories and pleasant memories alike, and it explores perspective and points of view. And since my wife and I have had 2 children, I have shifted my thinking about picture books. Instead of the independent character that you might see in Sidewalk Flowers, Town is by the Sea, Small in the City, I have been preoccupied by the relationships that we have with each other, parent and child. We are here with our lives overlapping for only a moment with these complicated, beautiful, unique humans existing together, sharing our lives with each other and teaching each other, challenging each other. I'm of the opinion that picture books have the ability to speak equally to every generation. connecting us not only with distant cultures and exposing us to the beautiful diversity around us, but also connecting the people sharing that moment with a picture book. It's been said before, but it bears repeating. As picture book creators, we are invited into this sacred place, into the bedtime ritual, the morning quiet time, the classroom circle, the library story time. And we lend our words to be spoken by the voice of the reader, the teacher, the parent, the child themselves, to be heard by the child. Those words could be said in a way that the child hears it for the first time from the person they need to hear it from the most, the person who hasn't yet found the right words. And we, as picture book creators, say, "Here, take mine." And what if those words were, "You are loved. You are not alone, and everything will be all right." It would not take long to discover that every book I have made and will make ends with that sentiment. Now, from here, I see this view that allows me to see further than ever before. I can see the winding path behind me, but I can also see the paths ahead to other exciting endeavors. I can see the entire mountain range spread out in front of me with countless destinations, more peaks, more jungles. I choose to receive this prestigious honor as an invitation to explore and continue following my compass, following my heart. But first, I might just sit and enjoy the view for a while.
Thank you, Heinz and Sydney. What a wonderful treat that was. Now, for one last thing, we'd like to, in the name of IBBY, to thank again our sponsors, Nami Island. And at this moment, I'd like to invite you to watch a short video about the activities of Nami Island. This is a fairy tale island, shaped like a tear in the Han River. It's not far from the DMZ, but it's so peaceful. It's this wonderful island, and I recommend you all go, once in your life at least. So I would like to thank Nami Island and invite you to watch this. Thank you to the Congress organization, and after this, we'd like to invite you all for dinner in Hall 27. So, we'd like to watch the film now. Thank you, everybody, for your attention and being here.
Welcome to Nami Island, the half-moon-shaped island of fairy tales. Founded by Min Byung-do, also the co-founder of South Korea's first publishing house, Nami Island is a testament to his vision of making culture accessible to children. Due to the dedication to this vision, picture books aren't just stories here on the island. They are celebrated all year round. A tradition since 2005, Nambook Festival is a fusion of art, culture and nature, inspired by the legacy of Hans Christian Andersen. A sensory feast of exhibitions, performances, and activities spotlighting a guest country, we invite children to embark on a journey of cultural discovery. Since 2009, we proudly sponsor the prestigious Hans Christian Andersen Awards, honoring the very best in children's book authors and illustrators. Our Andersen Picture Book Center welcomes visitors from around the globe, offering them the opportunity to discover the award-winning works. And in 2014, we were humbled to receive the IBBY Jella Lebman Medal for our dedication to the field of international picture books. NAMI Concours, an international illustration competition established in 2013 to foster creativity and to contribute to the advancement of the quality of picture book illustrations. Now, a globally recognized award, it's a platform for professionals to connect, exchange ideas, and push the boundaries of picture book illustration. Through immersive exhibitions, creative workshops, and a variety of souvenirs to take home, we strive to broaden the horizons of picture book artistry. As the sun sets, the magic of picture books comes to life at the Illustration Art Hotel Chongwon-ru. Rooms adorned with the award-winning works of NAMI Concours provide a peaceful retreat and a library full of picture books for the night. Renowned for its enchanting atmosphere and the commitment to children's well-being, Nami Island has been designated by UNICEF as a child-friendly theme park, the first of its kind in Asia. It is surely a treasure trove of surprises, where every corner holds a magical discovery waiting to be found. Come and craft your own story.